In a world of rapid change, collaboration is existential. Collaboration is our topic today. My guests are Silke Klemann in Germany, Amanda Jane in England, and this is Art Talk, the place where we can disagree if we want to. Ta-da! Hello, ladies.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
You know, this is a first for me. It's the first time I have two lady guests in Art Talk. So I feel very pleased, very honored. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for the invitation.
I'm first going to introduce you a little bit to my viewers. And dear viewers, what I'm about to say is not doing justice to the two ladies. So do check out their biographies on their websites. You will find the information of their website in the description of the video and of course on our own Reiki Conciliation website. So let me start with Silke. I'm starting with you, Silke, because about half a year ago, I got to know you through the recommendation through a friend of ours in Germany, because she told me you might be an interesting partner for me to speak to, because you wrote a book, she said, and we're going to speak about the book in a moment. And this is how we got to talk. And you actually suggested that I take Amanda Jane on board. So thank you very much for the suggestion. I'm looking forward to our conversation. And Silke is a woman who has spent some time in Argentina. And on her websites, in her biography, she's making a point of her son, Carlos, and presumably the name and Argentina may have a connection. Maybe we find out in our conversation.
Sorry, the name is Carlo. That's a little odd, especially if you want to talk about the connection. But yeah, apart from me being very connected to Spanish, my son got an Italian name. So.
My bad. I am sorry. I jumped to a conclusion with the Spanish, which you speak. And talking of languages you speak, you know, I speak English and German fluent, and I speak a smattering of Greek and a smattering of French. But this woman, in her biography, dear viewers, if you scroll down a little bit, you will find that she speaks Spanish, her main language, I believe, French, Portuguese, Italian, Finnish, Sanskrit, and Japanese. The mind boggles, to be honest. I wouldn't know how I would dream. Which language do you dream in?
Oops. Different, I'd say. But I also have to say that I do not speak fluently all these languages. No, I really can say that I'm fluent in German, English, and Spanish, but the rest I can read fairly well. Japanese I cannot read fairly well, but I have probably more understanding than most of us here. No, but I wouldn't say that I'm a perfect speaker, not by far. Yeah.
Well,
but I love languages. I have done so since my childhood, and so yeah, for me it's a privilege if I can dive into a new language. It's always enriching.
Okay, well, you're obviously a woman of the world and the word. And in fact, Silke is a teacher of spiritual practices, amongst them Reiki. And in her biography, I spotted 3 sentences I would like to share with you, my dear viewers, and then I'll introduce Amanda. About her role as a teacher, she says, I prefer methods that get by without external aids as far as possible, for which one carries everything necessary within oneself. And she says, it is a joy and an honor to be able to pass on this joy and enthusiasm to others. And I get all emotional because I resonated strongly to what you're saying about what a privilege it is to be a teacher in these things. And then the third sentence I noticed is, She says, I also have a home in the world of letters through books, my other field of work. I am allowed to learn a lot. So you're a seeker and you're curious, and I'm sure we will have a nice exploration the next half hour when we talk to each other. Very welcome, Silke.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, René.
And you do add and correct later, please. Amanda, she is a master in spiritual psychology. She is a Reiki teacher, a teacher of spiritual practices. She's a woman, actually, I think, Amanda, I just read 2 sentences from your biography and they pretty much say it all. And she's traveled widely. And I noticed you also were in Eastern Europe and in South Africa. And I resonated strongly because I've been living for 3 years in South Africa as a young man. And I traveled behind the Iron Curtain at that time. And you were in these countries also when you were active in the mental health field. The 2 sentences which I liked are the following. Amanda Jane never wanted to live a normal life, which she has achieved with resounding success so far. As soon as she realized offices, rules, and regulations were not her thing, she left her job and her native England to find out more about the world and the amazing array of people living in it. And to me, that resonates of the curiosity you have for human beings. And if I may take the liberty, of the love I maybe interpret, but of the love you seem to have for people. Am I a little bit on the mark?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that curiosity is very deep and always has been very deep in me, to find out more about the world, about people, about how they interact and different cultures. And, you know, I think the more that I travel, the deeper I was able to kind of delve inside myself and therefore connect to others. So, yeah.
And you're a woman of the letter as well. I know that Silke, of course, is a translator also of not just of light novels, but of serious literature. You're the one who also has to do with children books, aren't you?
Yeah, so I've written several children's books. One was published. I'm going to republish that one. I've got another few in the pipeline. Yeah, and so I've written a couple of those in a little travel book as well. But I am a woman of English words. I am terrible at other languages.
But so you do speak Japanese, don't you?
When I lived in Japan, I could speak enough to get around and manage, you know, my everyday life. But I am by no means anywhere near fluent, and certainly now I've lost some of it. But it's not natural to me learning other languages.
And yet it yielded into a collaboration with your partner. And when I first spoke to that friend of yours, Silke, in Germany, I was looking for personalities within the Reiki community, and I actually asked her whom I admire, and she's a strong personality, and I asked her whether she would want to be my guest, and she also, because she's not that fluent in English, referred me also to you. And then I learned that you are actually writing a book about women in Reiki, the cover of which I can see behind you. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is a project we started now nearly 3 years ago. Yeah, it takes time to do a book. And yeah, this book has lots to do with the things we have been talking about already, our curiosity and our let's say, international interest of Amanda and me, traveling around the world, meeting many people, and also, kind of investigating deeper into things. And also, of course, being women. It was in a meditation, in fact, in summer of 2018, that I suddenly had this idea, oh, what about all the women who are active in Reiki? Because as we all know, in the Reiki scene, there are really lots of women active doing beautiful work, but they are not so visible often on presentations or like the main teachers or publishing books. And I really strongly had the feeling, wow, this is something we have to do something about. And me personally, we are women doing this. We know many other women doing this work, so it would be nice to present them, even if they are not women who would do a book on their own, no? And so I approached Amanda because right from the beginning, I had the feeling it's better not to do it on my own. It's more fun to do it together. I think it's something very female also to collaborate. It's maybe more easy for women to join and to do something together and not to be in the main spotlight, but to show various persons. I think it's something that works well among us. And then the idea sort of got bigger and bigger and bigger because we started wanting to talk about women teaching Reiki today. But then we thought, oh, but what about our teacher, Chiyoko Yamaguchi? What about other women who have practiced Reiki before us throughout the times? And so we focused on this historic part also. That's how the subtitle of our book came to, no? Lifetimes dedicated to healing in 1930s Japan and today. And it became quite an interesting part, but also one that took quite a lot of time to investigate, to do research and to talk with many people. But now we're really proud to present this. Maybe I can just show a close-up of our cover.
Absolutely. Wait a minute. I will have a close-up of you.
Yeah, here, that's the cover. And that's the back side of it. Well, you don't need to read all of it now. It will be soon available. We hope that by the end of July or in August, we will have it in the shops. And we're very much looking forward to what this will cause, because we had very nice feedback already from the women who participated, of course, but also from our students, other people we know. We have a feeling that it's quite good for our times, that it's really time to put a bigger focus on women.
I agree.
I don't know, would you like to add something, Amanda?
I agree with you very much. Like I said in the introduction, we're going through a changing time, and I think collaboration and what you described as a yin, as a female quality, are of utmost importance in these times. So you brought up an interesting topic I'd like to talk about a little bit as we talk about collaboration. And of course, you also introduced that you collaborated with Amanda. So Amanda, how was this German woman to collaborate with? I mean, you're a free-spirited English. You have your own sense of humor, which we continentals so admire and never are able to match. And here you are with this dry and German and rigid and bureaucratic, and that's all you don't like. How was your collaboration then?
Well, I mean, in short, it was a wonderful experience. It was, I think you're right. I haven't experienced this kind of collaboration very much before. I have always been kind of off on my own doing my thing, and so this was a learning experience for me. It was a wonderfully enriching experience, and I have gained as a result of what we've done and what we've experienced together. Now, Zilka might have more to say on this too, but the interesting thing is Zilka and I have a grounding, I think, of very similar views about the world that we come from and our curiosity, as we spoke about before. But we come at things from very different ways, different directions. And as you can see from what we've spoken about before, I'm a little bit more kind of like, hey, let's make this like the feeling of this in a certain way, and we could be a bit vague. And Silke is much more, no, we need this information, and you know, and so she will pack information in, whereas I will tend to come from the middle and blast it out again to try and get a certain feeling to it. And so, as you can imagine, that has two results. One is it can blow up if you're not careful. And two is if you manage and collaborate and make your way through it together, it can have a wonderful result, which then includes all of those things that we bring to the table together.
Of course, I was playing on preconceived opinions of stereotypes and so on. But this is also part of our existence, that we have these ingrained roles we play. We have this collective belief systems which we are a manifestation of. So to some extent, these things are true. And basically, then I have to ask the other side. I have to ask Silke how it was for you, Silke, to work with this unreliable, very quickly moving, never in one place Brit.
Yeah, well, I think you already noticed in the beginning when you introduced me and said the name of my son wrong, that I'm this kind of maniac person who always has the exact meaning and will jump in and correct and say that's not true and so on. And that's, I fear, part of my my nature, or also my professional education, because I work in editing and translating for over 20 years now, and I'm really trained to do this also, no? But I really have the feeling that we reached a great collaboration. Apart from the fun it was to work with Amanda, like everything we do together. I mean, we have a beautiful friendship for many years before we started to work on this book together. So we're very, I think we fully trust each other. That is really the base also of our collaboration. But I think it was really enriching to have both sides. Now, me, who, like Amanda said, likes to squeeze in much information, but some people, they just get lost with it. They cannot handle it, no? And so it was really great to have Amanda to say, oops, I think that's a little bit too much. We need something that is more entertaining, to have a little bit a lighter tone. And then also, of course, not just lighter tones, no? She's very profound. She really has a great own way of looking at things and surprising me with that, no? Because I admit that sometimes I think, why can't she be more like me? Why do I have to check the commas? Why can she never do it right, no? And then comes the moment when she does something that is totally unexpected for me, and I say, ooh, that's great. I would never have come to this idea on my own. And I mean, that's, for me, is what collaboration is about. No? If I just want something that is like, I have done it on my own, I wouldn't need to ask anybody for collaboration. No? So
actually, I was stumbling in my own mind over the question, what's the difference between cooperation and collaboration? And here I wrote down a sentence, if you care to listen, to read it, and you embodied it just now, that actually the sum of the two units together give a greater product, in this case, a greater book. I'm a little intrigued about this preconceived opinion of yours, Silke, that we men should not be as capable to collaborating as you women. What makes you say this? I am the best example of a man who is collaborating beautifully with the two of you, aren't I?
That's true. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say this in general also, no, but I have seen it in my life that for some men it can be harder just to give this space and say who was collaborating, that something could happen, no? Yeah. Or maybe it's also it's the other way around, no, that for women it's harder to take this place, no, to say, wow, that's me, I can do this, no, this might be culture, this might be education, whatever, no. So I don't want to blame men for this, no. It's for sure something that happens from a combination of two different sides, no?
Well, actually, I think we're on a very important topic of collaboration, which I find is one of the most important developments we humanity needs, and that's also the collaboration between the yin and the yang, between the masculine and the feminine, between men and women. And it's of course naive to assume that we have reached a world where equality has been reached. It has not been reached. But before, maybe another question, the reverse of what you just said. What, if we are, to me, collaboration has something with flexibility, has to do with listening to the other, putting myself into the shoes of the other, looking for synergies, that kind of thing. What the converse to that, the more masculine aspects. And this is one of the reasons, I think, why we have, to some extent, ironically, more visible men in the Reiki community than women. Ironic because, as you correctly say, the majority of people who practice Reiki in the world are women. And yet, very often, the head of professional associations, the scientists, I know of a circle of scholars of about 6 or 7, which popped to my mind, all but one men, maybe 2 women. So what's the quality then, the masculine quality on the other side of this yin quality of collaboration? Which has its own right and benefits. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I liked the definition of cooperation and collaboration that you put before, no? Because this is one point I wanted to say, that for me, something key about collaboration is really the whole puzzle, as it says there, that will come out in the end, no? It's not so much about I'm doing the biggest part, or this is my part, you're only doing that part. For me, in a collaboration, the important thing is the outcome, that the vision I had or we had in the beginning, that we can see the result. And I don't mind if I have to do more, I have to do the harder part or whatever. I just keep looking at the bigger vision. And connecting this to what you just asked, Renee, I mean, as you know, we are both working as teachers for the Jikin Reiki Institute for many years. And for many years, Tadao Yamaguchi, we have the male head of the institute, as the current heir of the Yamaguchi family business that started with Chiyoko Yamaguchi, his mother, and Tadao Yamaguchi, and also with Franca Java-Petter, who is the vice president or vice representative, as we say, of the Jikin Reiki Institute. And both Amanda and I have started collaborating with Tadao Yamaguchi, with Franca Java-Petter, for many years. In the seminars, we have assisted dozens of times during the seminars, and it was never like a question for me, and I guess it's the same true for you, Amanda, to say, well, I'm not in the right position here. It's just, okay, no, I'm doing my part so that the whole vision can come into the world, now that we would like to spread this kind of traditional Reiki practice like it was learned in the 1930s. And also with Ajava, I collaborated on his last books as his German editor, no? And it's totally fine. They are totally his books, but for many years, I put much of me into his books and all the discussions we had, the editing, no? And I just didn't feel the need to come out to say, well, but this is me, no? But with this book, when the idea came, I said, okay, now it seems time I have something that I want to say, that we can say as women, and it's good to come to the first line and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Amanda, you're pregnant.
Am I pregnant?
Pregnant with a sentence which is popping out of your mouth. Go ahead.
Well, I was just to kind of put another layer to it. It feels to me like true collaboration is a much bigger, deeper thing than the cooperation that you're talking about. And I think that in order to really truly collaborate in a way that you have this common purpose, which is bigger than us, right? We have this purpose that's not for me or for Zilke to have the spotlight, for example, talking about our experience. The purpose is, of course, the book and how the book may help other people in certain ways. And so, you know, I think in order to truly deeply collaborate, you need connection between the people who are involved. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't collaborate with people, for example, you might not particularly want to get, you know, spend time with as friends, but you do need connection, I think, because it's really only like that connection that allows the collaboration to kind of roll and flow with ease, right? And that connection comes from the deeper things in life. It comes from trust, which you've already mentioned. It comes from mutual respect. It comes from taking responsibility for yourself and your own feelings or your own stuff that comes up. And all this has happened to us, you know, certainly probably a bit more to me than Zilke, but it has happened, you know. And these things, and there's also, I think, which maybe this speaks to the male-female thing a little bit, because I think vulnerability is needed in terms of being able to be authentic about what is happening to you in a moment when it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to be, you know, in your own stuff about something because Zilke wants, you know, to put commas here, or she wants to take this bit out or put this bit in, you know. And of course, it's not, in the end, it's not really about that. It's about my own stuff that's going on inside me as a reaction, right? So if you can speak to those things and you have the kind of relationship and connection where you can do that, then you end up with much better, deeper collaboration, which creates a much better result. And, you know, so maybe it's not that men can't be vulnerable. It's not that men can't be open. It's not that men can't take responsibility at all, not at all. But unfortunately, the society that we currently live in does not encourage that in men. We don't teach boys.
This is partially true, or traditionally true, what you say, and I agree with that. But of course, there's many men out there who are aware of precisely what you said. And it is not a coincidence that there is an art talk with a man from a business community about vulnerability. There is an art talk about authenticity, which with a man who is running a publishing house in Germany, Oliver Klatt. And that is just to show that there is a lot of consciousness amongst us men. And partially this is true why the art talks exist, exactly to explore that, to find a common ground, even common ground to agree to disagree. We don't need to see everything eye to eye on things. So I've prepared something, and you've given me the cue to show you something, which I'd like to, this is Dr. Shelley Vanetten de Sanchez from the University of New Mexico. Just a very brief clip.
Something small that you can hold tightly in one hand. Maybe a small round stone, or maybe a great idea that you wrote on a scrap of paper. Now imagine something larger. To hold it, you'll need to open your arms. And now, even with your arms open, it's so large, you need to invite others over with their arms open to help you move it. Holding tightly to an idea means complete control of something small. And arms wide open represents letting go of control in favor of harnessing the power of collaboration to move big things. Now, we all witness the power of collaboration daily, even in our modern world. Think of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding and my favorite flash mobs.
She pretty much also agrees with you, or reversely. And I like, she finishes with the flash mob as an example of the ultimate collaboration, the bigger. And you, Zilke, when you spoke, described pretty much that, and you also referred to the trust, the vulnerability which is needed for collaboration to take place. What did you think about the little clip I showed you?
Yeah, I think it's great because it gives us the occasion to talk also that it was not collaboration only Amanda and me for the book. We had so many other people involved. No? First, the women, our teacher colleagues from today that we interviewed. We had photographers who took beautiful portraits of all of the women because we really wanted to show them in their outer form also, no? Not just the inner wisdom, but also the outer beauty. We had Tadao Sensei Tadao Yamaguchi and Franca Javapeta who helped us. Justin Stein was helping us a lot with information. We had the person who did the layout for our book. And also, and that was really funny because I have to show once again the cover. If you see here, we have this beautiful calligraphy on top of it. That's done also by one of our Japanese friends, Eri Fukaze Luman. And it's just what this woman was talking about, because it's like women opening their arms to embrace Reiki, to hold the practice, to keep it alive and to pass it on to the next generation. No? So she was just talking about one of the main ideas what we also had for this book, because I totally agree, no, that something small you can do it on your own, but something big you need others to do it. Yeah, so perfect for me.
And that's true, of course, for any endeavor we have. And in fact, I think that's very true for the world is changing. We know the old paradigm. We know the control of the old paradigm. We know that a lot isn't working, but we haven't found a new paradigm, and we are sort of in this zone of in between. But one thing seems to be very clear: collaboration becomes increasingly existential.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see that. You know, we're talking currently about collaboration between people in order to create things, but you know, what you're speaking to there as well, I think, is the collaboration that is constantly taking place between us and everything around us. You know, we are in relationship and in collaboration with everything, including and probably foremost at the moment, nature. That we need, I think, to collaborate in the same way we were just talking about. We need connection in order to be in relationship with nature in a way that creates something bigger for all of us rather than destroys one part of it, which is what we're currently doing with the control. We're trying to control.
So true, so true. I agree with you. We're coming to, we're beyond, and I've prepared something very nice because the woman liked the flash mob, and here I'd like to show you just the beginning. And now the end of that flash mob. So the flash mob did the little girl with the contrabass, and then it came more and more as a symbolism for the future, for where we hopefully go, and for true collaboration. We're coming to an end. I'd like to give you an opportunity. How do you ladies feel about our conversation? Maybe a closing remark. Amanda?
What would I like to close with? Well, I'd like the conversation to continue, and I think it should in general. But I just to say thank you very much. It's been lovely to have this little time talking with you. And just to Zilke, I want to say thank you so much. It's been an incredible experience working with you. And we were already friends, but getting to know you more in this collaborative, connected way has been absolutely beautiful. And I hope that, like the flash mob, you know, things start with 1-2 people, as you say, and off they go. And so we hope that there's more to come.
And I hope your book will find resounding applause, like in the clip I showed you. And Silke?
Yeah, I like the flash mob images a lot, no? And this would really be like a dream that could come true, no? If we manage to transport some of the joy and the passion for what we are doing, if this would be possible to transmit it to more people like this, no? It would be the best thing to see that happen. And I also wanted to come back briefly to the man-woman question. Because, I mean, to me personally, really, it doesn't matter who is doing things, no? If it's a man, if it's a woman, if it's a child, if it's an adult, if it's a black person, a white person, no? I want to see things done. And this is what I'm focused in my life, no? And this is why sometimes I don't like these expressions if I'm pushed into a kind of a, you are that, you have to do that, whatever, no? I like people to be really focused on their visions and their dreams and to do their best to make this come true, no? And so thanks a lot, Renee, for this occasion to talk about our dream here. And yeah, well, Amarna, we go on sharing this dream and doing our best now each day.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to see that the cosmic hippie is visible at the final moments. I say goodbye to you, ladies. Thank you very much for having joined me.
Oh, thanks so much, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, thank you very much for viewing. I wish you a good next 3 weeks. In 3 weeks' time, we will have the next release, the next episode. So please subscribe to our talk. And in the meantime, if you do disagree, agree to disagree with the other person. Bye-bye for now.